It's The Lit Show with Jeremy Fee. New episode each Tuesday. Authors welcome, comments encouraged. Hello everyone, welcome to The Lit Show. I'm your host, Jeremy Fee. As always, I've got something special for you today. It's a double tag Tuesday. Today I'm doing the horrors of social media tag and the personal library tag. For our first tag, the horrors of social media tag. This tag was originally created by John over there at Books of Blood. He's got a really great YouTube channel. If you like horror, I highly recommend his channel. He's been doing some great series lately. Go check him out if you are not already subscribed. There is a really great version of this tag by Pax over there at the Pax Panic channel, and Pax has challenged me to do a version of this tag in which I answer with only characters from Buffy the Vampire Slayer. So that's what you're gonna get. I hope that you're a Buffy fan, otherwise you may want to just skip ahead to the second tag in this video. But it is a lot of fun with the social media prompts. There are 5 prompts, I believe, and an optional one as well, and then I'll tag some people and move on to the next tag. Prompt number 1, Facebook. Which horror characters would you be most likely to accept a friend request from, and which horror character would you be least likely to accept a friend request from? For most likely, I'm gonna go ahead and go with Buffy. She is the Vampire Slayer. She is one of the kindest, nicest, hardest working characters in all of horror fiction. She just wanted to live a normal life, but she was willing to do what she needed to do as the chosen one. And the one that I would be least likely to accept would probably be Faith, who was another Vampire Slayer, which I know could be confusing because unto each generation one Slayer is born, but on a technicality Buffy died, which caused a new Slayer to be summoned forth, and then that Slayer died. Here I am giving you spoilers for the TV show. And then Faith arrived. And Faith was not a nice person, really. She was quite a bit of a bully, and she did a lot of really bad, evil things. Moving on to prompt number 2, Instagram. Which horror character would you be most likely to follow, and which horror character would you be least likely to follow? Instagram has got all those fun pictures on it. I think Willow would be the one I'd be most likely to follow. She is a very artistic nerd, I believe. I believe she probably put a lot of useful, interesting stuff on Instagram. I think least likely to follow would probably be Anya. Anya is scared of rabbits. But other than that, she's a former vengeance demon who's stuck in the body of a teenager / young adult. So I have a feeling that her Instagram would probably not be very happy. I'm not even sure that she would post anything on hers. Number 3, Twitter. Which horror character do you think would have the best tweets, and which horror character would have the worst tweets? I think by far the best character from Buffy the Vampire Slayer when it would come to tweeting would be Spike. Spike was brilliant. He had a great sense of wit, humor. There was a crossover episode for Angel in which he just made fun of Angel in a meta sort of way, really talking to himself, talking to the audience, and it was hilarious. So I bet he would have some very funny, sarcastic tweets. It would be a lot of fun to follow. I like funny people on Twitter. A lot of what I will click a like for and retweet is humorous stuff on Twitter. I think probably the worst person for Twitter out of the characters on Buffy would be Giles, the old librarian, even though he did turn out to have a secret past that was more interesting. Number 4, YouTube. Which horror character would I be most likely to subscribe to, and which horror character would I be most likely to not subscribe to? I think I'd be most likely to subscribe to Oz because he was in a band, and so they would probably have music videos, and I actually liked the music on the show, something that I would really compliment the creators for the show for. Not only was it interesting dialogue, fun adventures, but they had a really good soundtrack, good music on there. Probably the least likely for me to follow on YouTube would be Xander. If Xander had a YouTube channel, I think he'd probably just randomly ramble about stuff. Probably not really be focused on anything in particular. For TikTok, number 5, which horror character would have the most annoying TikTok? I think probably that would be Angel. I don't think Angel would be that interesting. In his spin-off series, they actually had a whole whole concept of people singing to reveal information about their destinies and what was going to happen to them. And Angel did not want to sing. He did not like singing. So I have a feeling he wouldn't be much into the singing and dancing, which I've heard is what TikTok is all about. But I think a really fun character for TikTok, probably the best, would be Cordelia. Cordelia was a cheerleader. Cordelia liked to make people happier. I bet she'd be all about the singing and dancing and have a whole lot of fun on TikTok. I need to tag some people. Let's tag Hugo over there at Scientist Reading World, another great YouTube channel, just sitting down and talking about the books and what's coming out and wrap-ups as well. David Wiley, who has had some really good book calls lately. Also, he likes to do kind of a weekly chat and that sort of thing. A lot of these people that I'm tagging, they read a lot of the same kind of books that I do. So if you like my channel, you'd probably enjoy their channel. And then there's Colin Clark, who's a big member of HorrorTube, always making videos about writing, and he does a lot of HorrorTube tags as well. Feel free to consider this an author tag, Colin Clark. And then I'm also going to tag Jess, the book freak. She's a lot of fun over there on her channel. She likes to do skits. Alright, that's it for the first tag today. Our second tag is the personal library tag. It was created by Shelly Swearingen. Her channel is so much fun. I bet you're already subscribed to it. I feel like everyone's talking about Shelly Swearingen these days, so they're probably watching her videos already. I was tagged by David Wiley, someone I just mentioned and tagged for the previous tag. But like I said, he's got a great YouTube channel as well. For the prompts for this one, they are about your personal library. I'm not sure how they're numbered because I'm not sure how many are considered official main prompts and how many are sub-questions and that sort of thing. So I'll just read a series of questions, kind of pause, try to answer them, and maybe read a couple more, pause, try to answer them, that sort of thing. So first up, do you have books around, or do you think of yourself as having a personal library? What does a collection or personal library mean to you, and what is your personal library for? I think those questions are trying to establish, what do you consider for your personal library? I have a personal library at home. I also have a classroom library as a teacher in my classroom. So in a sense, I have multiple libraries. Also at home, I have in my main library a lot of fiction and nonfiction. I also have my DVDs and CDs. And then I have a secondary library, which has role-playing books, role-playing manuals, guides, monster manuals, and adventure books, and that kind of stuff, which I keep separate from the fiction and nonfiction. It's a lot of books. Where is my personal library? Is it contained to a single room or spread out all over the house? And how many books make up my personal library? I've counted them for a tag before, and I think I just guesstimated, rounded it, probably about 1,000 books here at home. I didn't bother trying to count the books in my classroom because some of them I purchased, some of them the school purchased, some of them people donated or left behind so that they could be available to other people in the future. So it's a lot. But when I was counting my personal library at home at 1,000, that was the fiction and nonfiction. I wasn't even counting the role-playing book. And if I added those in, that would be a lot more. Just without even going out there and looking at them, hundreds. It would be hundreds more added in. And that is over multiple rooms. Obviously, my classroom, my bedroom, and my living room. How many books? Oh yeah, I just answered that. How do you organize your personal library? Do you keep track of your personal library? And if so, how? How do you decide to add a book to your personal library? I have my personal library organized to where there is an entire bookcase with movies, and really I probably need 2 bookcases for the movies and the CDs, but I've got some binders that have a lot of DVDs and CDs in them, which makes it easier, but they're still overflowing. I have an entire 2 bookcases, right? Well, let's call it 1.5 bookcases because it's a a big one and a smaller one for nonfiction. And then I've got a bookcase that is for kind of general fiction and historical fiction. Then I've got my horror slash suspense, thriller, crime bookcase. I have a bookcase for science fiction. I have 2 bookcases for fantasy because I've bought a lot of fantasy books that I still have. If I still had all my science fiction books, I would need more than one bookcase for it. But over the years, I have gotten rid of a lot of books, and that brings up the idea of how do I decide to add a book to my personal library? I didn't used to think about it very much. I used to buy books on a whim, and I would just, go to a bookstore or the used bookstore, find something I liked and buy it so I could read it later. Or during the pandemic, I'd been buying books online a lot and having them shipped and then putting them on my shelf so I could read them later. But at some point in the last year, thanks to BookTube, I have gotten to where I now actually think about it, and I will not necessarily buy a physical book. I now am getting a lot of books as either ebooks or audiobooks because my shelves are overflowing. And it has occurred to me that for the future, I would like to focus on maybe just owning physical copies of books that really mean a lot to me, or that I want to be able to lend out to other people and that sort of thing. All right, next question. When it's time to cull your personal library, how do you decide what stays and what goes? Again, in the past, I didn't think about this too much. When I was younger, there were some times that literally I was just like, I need some money, and so I would sell books back to used bookstores and then regret it later. Years later, I'd be like, I wish I still had that book. Or I would give books to students or to friends and let them read them, and I wouldn't necessarily care about whether I got them back. I wouldn't follow up and harass them to get my books back, so I've lost a lot of books that way also. Now I guess I've pretty much decided how many bookcases I'm going to have for at least the near future, and I've decided that I'm going to have to select. If I actually buy more physical books, I'm going to have to get rid of others. So it's just going to come down to prioritizing which books I want to have in the background, I guess, of future photos on the internet. Which books mean the most to me? Does your personal library have books that you haven't read? Yes. I decided to start going through my library and turning books upside down if I haven't read them yet. So that hopefully this summer that will encourage me while I'm home to look through my library on a regular basis, pull out the upside down books and read them. What do you think about the idea of a zero TBR? I think it's great. I think some people online are defining a zero TBR as different things, and that's cool. Define it however you want. I personally am not worried about having a zero TBR. Next question, how do you feel about your personal library? I think it's amazing. I like my personal library. I guess the only other strong feeling I would have is the regret that there are books that I used to own that are no longer available at a reasonable price to have as a physical book. So there are some that I regret that I no longer have. I need to tag some people who should do this. First of all, if you have not done this tag yet and you want to do it, I tag you. Just say I tagged you and do it. That'll be wonderful. But I'll tag specific people. Liam, aka Himvar, over there from Liam's Lyceum. He's been doing some great videos with his siblings. So Liam, if you want to do this with one of your brothers, I think that would be neat. You could compare your personal libraries, talk about them that sort of way, or just do the tag yourself. Margaret Pinard, the amazing writer. I know she's traveled a lot, and so I'm not sure about her personal library, about what books she's kept and that sort of thing. So I would be curious to hear Margaret Pinard's thoughts on a personal library collection. Chris from Chris Reviews, always posting pictures on Instagram with the ferret and all kinds of cool books. I mean, do you have to protect the books from the ferrets? Do they attack them? How many books do you keep? These are good, interesting questions. And say Kevi, What's your personal library like? I believe from listening to your channel that you like a lot of ebooks and not necessarily physical books, but I'm not 100% sure. I think it would be great to hear from all of you what your thoughts are on the personal library, keeping it as a collection, why you would have it or why you wouldn't have it. And maybe like me, a lot of the answers will be that this is now shifting, that really truly our mindsets are changing. While people used to have huge physical libraries, that maybe a lot of us are moving more toward not having as many physical books and instead reading ebooks and listening to audiobooks. That's it for today's video. Hope you enjoyed our Double Tag Tuesday. Every Tuesday is a good Tuesday for a book talk. Peace.